Hey guys, it's Lady, and today I wish to present you a comprehensive primer to the Chasm, or in other words, everything we know about it so far pre-patch 2.6. Now, I don't intend to go too much into speculative/theory territory, though I will here and there. It's just in general, the goal of this video is to lay out what existing lore we do have prior to our actual exploration in less than a week. As in, this is just stuff to keep in mind as you explore the mysterious chasm. And as someone who has been playing since patch 1.1 and is also a Geo main at heart, I've been looking forward to exploring this place for a long time. So, what do we know about the history of the chasm so far? Like, how was it formed? How did it get there? Well, Volume 6 of Records of Jueyun seemingly answers this question. It reads that, in a time prior to the Archon War, back when Rex Lapis was still very young, a star fell from the sky into the barren plains west of Liyue. This event resulted in the huge and deep chasm where Jade, beautiful and limitless, emerged from within, and thus became the foundation of Liyue's prosperous industrial mining trade. Now, what really stands out though is the description that this star, this meteorite that fell from the sky, had a proud and agitated temper. So, when the Archon War erupted, this fallen star could not stand the nature of this battle, where countless gods and rulers were fighting for a celestial seat. Even though the chasm itself tried to persuade the star from leaving, nevertheless, it leapt away, back into the heavens. So from the sounds of it, it sounds like the star was some kind of civilization. But of course, we have no confirmation of that as far as I know. It just seems more bizarre to me if it was actually a singular sentient being, like just one gigantic godlike thing in the form of rock. So, civilization it is for me. But what do you guys think? Anyway, after this star returned to the skies, the humans went on to build great cities and mighty fortresses in the deep pit left behind. By utilizing the leftover inheritance of that star, like the glazed sand crystal, which is used to make porcelain, and the plentiful jade deposits alluded to in the Serenitea Pot Quest, which we'll get back to later, the civilization in Dunyu Valley continued to prosper and would maintain good relations with Liyue Harbor all until 500 years ago. Now hearing that, we know where this is heading. So the fall of Khaenri'ah led to a terrible black calamity that swept over all of Teyvat. And as for the chasm, these residents of Dunyu ended up sealing off their ancient city, while they departed for other lands. These sealed up fortresses became giant, silent tombs, their empty halls becoming what we know today in-game as the Dunyu Ruins. But let's rewind and take a closer look at that black calamity and its relation to the chasm, all of which is touched upon in the Tenacity of Millelith artifact set. Rex Lapis personally ordered the Millelith to defend the mines, where hordes of the Abyss were surging forth from. These troops escorted the miners and civilians to safety, all while a small handful from the rear guard apparently stayed behind in the chasm. Together with the Nameless Yaksha, these soldiers fought courageously to buy time for everyone else, and thus made the ultimate sacrifice. Now obviously there's a lot of history about both the Millelith and the Nameless Yaksha in this 5-piece set, but since this video isn't meant to focus on either of those things, I'm only gonna cover the most pertinent information, though if you'd like me to do a video on that, let me know by liking and or leaving a comment. But yeah, so what do we know about this Nameless Yaksha? Well, one, supposedly they stayed behind in the chasm. So if we're supposed to take the flower lore at its word, that would imply that it can't be Shao. Secondly, people claimed that the Nameless Yaksha's defense of the chasm was not under the orders of Rex Lapis, but was instead believed to have been an act of redemption for previous cowardice and dereliction of duty. Now, according to all the lore we know about Shao, both from unlocking friendship levels and the tale about the 5 foremost Yakshas, he appears the most dutiful in honoring his contract with Rex Lapis. So, could the Nameless Yaksha be that of the 5 foremost who vanished without a trace? In the Yaksha's Wish quest in Minlin, we learn that Bosacius wished to depart from the world once it was at peace, and thus left behind their treasures for someone else to find. Now, since Genshin's lore timeline is kinda all over the place, in large part due to its nature as a live service game, we can't know for sure if they vanished before or after this fiasco 500 years ago. But Bosacius returning to help fight the Abyss, after having abandoned their duties before, would align with the claims people have made about the Nameless Yaksha. Though I should also mention, we can't rule out the fact that this may not even be one of the strongest 5. Like we see with Pervases, there were more Yaksha summoned forth by Rex Lapis than the 5 most powerful ones, though ultimately, for sake of narrative payoff, it make more sense to me if the Nameless Yaksha was a more prominent one. But you know how the flower says the Nameless Yaksha was not there on orders of Rex Lapis? Well, the circlet claims the exact opposite. And not only that, but it reads that the Yaksha disappeared without a trace after the Abyss fiasco in the chasm was done with. So, supposedly no, they didn't stay behind in its depths. So which one is right? Honestly, I really do appreciate how the manner in which these events are told reflect a lot of oral history traditions, as well as just how historical details often get muddled up in real life. Though this definitely doesn't make it easy to make primers and or lore guides. But nevertheless, the evolution of the lore is part of the fun. Anyway, the last particularly interesting tidbit I found in this set is from the Sans piece. So, according to urban legends, a collector wearing black robes roamed the market streets one day and bought up all the Oricalceous time dials possible. Some sellers were curious to know what his reasons were, but he deftly deflected all their questions with verbal tricks. So clearly, we don't know this person's motives, though this whole situation sounds pretty similar to a certain angel we met down in Enconomia. So was this black-robed person a member of the Abyss? And will we meet them as we explore the chasm with Dainsleif? Who knows? Now, another major event that went down in the chasm, even prior to the fall of Khaenri'ah, was the battle between Morax and Azhdaha. We know from Linlang's comments about the Nameless Treasures that Morax didn't work alone here, and required the aid of 3 other Adepti to seal Azhdaha away. Also, something interesting to note is that the identity of one of the Adepti is unknown, since their symbol has been scratched off the treasure box. So could this be related to the Nameless Yaksha thing? Who knows? Now, since it's probably been a long time since many of you have played Zhongli's Act 2 quest, though you can find a summary of it in the comprehensive lore guide I did on Papageo linked in the cards. But long story short, the overexploitation of mind ore caused great disturbances to the ley lines, all which caused Azhdaha, a geo-elemental being, much suffering. Erosion played a role as well, since it caused Azhdaha to slowly lose his ability to distinguish friend from foe, so that ultimately, on one fateful day, he lashed out at the human miners in the chasm, leaving Morax no choice but to step in. This was a legendary battle that raged on in the depths and birthed Dragonfall, a unique ore like no other. because rather than forming under high temperature environments over time, Dragonfall was produced solely via elemental reactions. Given its rarity, it's been mined into obscurity even centuries prior to present-day Teyvat. And so that brings us to the current state of the Chasm pre-patch 2.6. In-game, we learn that the Chasm has been sealed off by the Ministry of Civil Affairs ever since some of the miners unearthed something strange. Xizhong, one of the mine leaders, tells us that even though he didn't see whatever it was himself, anyone who did has been in a coma ever since. Due to such danger, the Qixing had the Chasm sealed off despite all the Mora they're losing with the mine shut down. Now, those of you who have been playing since patch 1.1 may recall how the meteorites that fell from the sky in Unreconciled Stars caused those who touched them to fall into comas. Meteorites, guys. And the Chasm was formed by a meteorite. So you can make of that what you wish. Anyway, with the Chasm mine shut down, obviously a lot of people have been left without work. Liyue does seem to have its own system of unemployment benefits and/or stimulus money, but even that is not enough for some who have turned to joining the treasure hoarders, like the Crushers. You know, the buff guys swinging around hammers, pictured here. Patch 1.5 Serenitea Pot Quest, or aka Yanfei's unofficial story quest, goes a bit more into how much of an impact this is having on the entire ore industry. For example, the merchant Jichao comes from a family that deals in the ore business. They've been having great trouble filling their backlogged orders, what with the Chasm sealed off, and their fellow ore merchants haven't been faring well either. And remember how we talked about the rare ore Dragonfall? Well, apparently one of the only places to find Smaragdus Jadeite is in the Chasm. It's an ore that's considered an adeptal treasure, and was also necessary to make our Serenitea Pot. Though notably, it's harmful to anyone who doesn't possess a vision. According to Dr. Baiju, these people will fall ill, with prolonged contact resulting in severe changes in personality and other terrible health complications. Now, these adverse symptoms are different from the induced comas we mentioned earlier, but nevertheless, both are harmful to health. So it really wouldn't surprise me if we eventually find there's a connection. But anyway, this pretty much sums up all the information I could find as it relates to the Chasm pre-2.6. Though if I missed anything, please let me know in the comments below. Honestly guys, I'm just so pumped to finally go to this place that we kept hearing fake leaks about for over a year now. Anywho, please like and subscribe if you found this video helpful, and we'd love to have you join our active Discord community at discord.gg/LadyVirgilia. Be sure to check out my other comprehensive lore guides on Genshin, and feel free to follow me on Twitter and on Twitch. Anyway, thanks so much for watching guys, and happy exploring in 2.6.